All right, welcome back to the Are You in the Book podcast. My name is Eric Wilbenaw, the president of the Baseball Bluebook, and today's episode is brought to you by the NABF, National Amateur Baseball Federation, the oldest baseball organization in the country, founded in 1914 out of Louisville, Kentucky. Today, we have Coach Matt Reiser, head coach of the University of Memphis, with us. Hi, Coach. How are you today?
Fantastic. I really appreciate you having me on, and obviously a great promotion for just amateur sports and obviously amateur baseball.
I love it. It's what we do, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. Before we begin, I encourage everyone to subscribe to our channel, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're everywhere your audio podcasts are available. Please subscribe, follow, and we love your comments as well. You can also follow us on social media platforms. We're everywhere, bringing you guys the best coaches in the business, and it's not we're hitting one of the best coaches in the area as well with Coach Reiser, and excited to hear about his journey to coaching as well as what he is looking for players, as well as his philosophy in coaching. So, Coach, as we do in all of our podcasts, we begin with kind of you introducing yourself and taking us through the journey to where you are today.
Yeah, coaching wasn't originally in the playbook. For me, to be honest with you, I got a chance. Originally from South Mississippi, played down at Picayune High School, went on and played junior college ball at Pearl River, and then got to play in the World Series in '05 at Tulane and finish up my playing career there. So I had some aspirations of going into medical school and continue that venture, say in the sports medicine area. But I got very fortunate, to be honest with you. God is good, man, and sometimes He lays things right in your lap, and you don't realize the journey He's putting you on. But just got done playing, finished up there at Tulane in '06, and Derek Topic calls me out of nowhere and says, "Hey, man, you want to coach a summer team up here in Jackson?" I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I love being around the guys. I love, as a team captain, that was kind of my deal. I'm getting ready to coach a lot of high school guys that are getting ready to go into college, so. Sound like a fun summer. And, hey, got a chance to make a little bit of money. Coming out of college, you're looking for any coin you can make, right? And so if you can do something that you enjoy, take advantage of it. So got that opportunity that summer to coach the Jackson 96ers. We got a chance to make it to the NABF, World Series, and just an awesome experience, man. Had another year left of school to finish up. I finished my playing career, but needed another year to go finish off that degree and complete that component of it. But I'll be honest with you, that summer kind of had me kind of spinning a little bit. Maybe coaching is something I might want to get into if I get an opportunity. So had a year to chew on it a little bit, finished up school, and the next summer, got a chance to obviously get into the Division I realm and coach at Southeastern, and spent the last 16 years there. So, and now here we are in year one at Memphis. So, really, in all honesty, the NABF and obviously the opportunity with Topic kind of started the coaching career for me.
I think that's great. I appreciate the shout out. Topic is a great guy. I'll tell you what, I talked to a lot of coaches that kind of started their career with maybe just a phone call from him and said, "Hey, would you like an opportunity to do this?" So, Coach, that's an interesting kind of direction that you went. I looked at biomedical, engineering. You're not just a dumb jock, right, Coach?
Yeah, smartest coach in the country or the dumbest coach in the country, whichever way you want to look at it, perspective. Yeah, it was definitely not the easiest route to get into coaching, but also a lot of life lessons learned in that degree plan. And, again, just put me on a path to where I need to be today and help guys. Look, we coach student athletes, right? Again, I know in the new day of NIL and transfer portal, everything that's going on, there's getting a pretty blurred line with amateurism and professionalism and paying kids and but at the end of the day, man, the importance of it is that they are student athletes, and the student component is a huge part of this as well. So, at least nothing else, it gets me in a good door and good graces, mom and dad, knowing, hey, I'm going to push hard for your kid to finish a degree and play professional baseball.
No, that's really important. Having the degree and you pursuing that really gives a great example for the kids as well as you said, the parents. Now you brought it up, and typically I stay out of this, but I heard a quote from a coach a couple days ago on social media. It says that we are less coaches and more business managers now with this new NIL and the money that's coming in. Just a quick comment or thoughts on where it is today and some of the challenges as well as the opportunities that you see in the future with what's going on.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, especially at Division 1 level, more of these jobs are becoming corporate jobs. You're becoming a CEO, and I think there's always been a component of that, right? There's a lot of people to manage behind the scenes. When you're talking about, the compliance aspect of it, obviously the academic component of it, obviously developing players and the amount of resources and analytics that are coming available nowadays. But now you start getting NIL, and you have to have accountants and
Yeah.
all kinds entities, agents that you're dealing with, the advisors that you're dealing with. There's just so many different components that are around the foundation. We have the 901 Foundation for us as well that kind of heads up this thing for NIL. So again, it's putting people in places and managing people that are good at their jobs and be able to fulfill those roles to the best of your abilities. And so I'm not the smartest guy in the room by any means. So we continue to hire, as a CEO, to make sure you got people in place to kind of work all the inner workings of it, right? I mean, you have CFOs that are working now these programs that are, again, fully putting together NIL plans and focusing on how we can create revenue, obviously for the university or for the programs, but for the student athletes as well. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, so it's important for me to make sure that we hire a staff that can continue to focus on the baseball aspect of things as well, right on the field, because probably externally a lot more guys are getting pulled in directions that they haven't been pulled in before. The external stuff was just trying to get some fans in the stands. There's
Yeah.
a lot more external components now that are being involved with the transfer portal and NIL.
No, that's a great point. You have to hire the right people in those right positions, and it's really what a coach always does. A good coach is bringing in a good pitching staff or a recruiting coordinator and allowing them to do their job so that you can kind of manage the whole thing. It is interesting, kind of some of the dynamics of baseball. We're here to talk baseball. We're talking coaching baseball, and then we've got all of these ancillary things around, right? The NIL, we got the transfer portal. We also have metrics. I made a comment on social the other day. It's like we've created an entire industry of metrics, right? It has nothing to do with baseball. It has to do with metrics. And it's quite the balancing act from a coach. So I'd love to hear kind of, you just came out not too long ago from college, but it's a world of difference from just a decade ago of what we're doing now and as a head coach. Talk about kind of your philosophy, what you're looking for, what are the right things to do. At the end of the day, what is the most important thing for Coach Reiser?
Yeah, the environment's completely changed in the last decade. Like you said, we've got NIL and transfer portal, but we're in a trickle down effect too for Major League Baseball. And obviously, there's the amount of technology that's been put into place in the last decade, the amount of information that is being processed. I mean, the amount of Harvard and Yale grads that they have that are
Yeah.
running numbers, right, and telling you who to play and what position to play and where to play guys. It's a lot of information to decipher. So first and foremost, when I hired a staff, I had to make sure I had people in roles again that could handle that. So when we released our staff back in June of, hey man, this is what the staff looks like. I had people text me, go, hey man, you got a football staff nowadays? Like, you got so many coaches. There should be there's a pitching guy, there's a hitting guy, maybe a guy can run camps, and then obviously a head coach to kind of manage that. But we've got 8 staff members now. You're hiring people for external operations, hiring people for internal operations, data and video analytics. So again, who you surround yourself with, I think, is extremely important, and who's inside your circle. And that's obviously for me as a head coach, but also for these players as well. I mean, there's a lot of people that are trying to help these kids in their recruiting process, and some think that they're doing good for the kid. Some are thinks, and then they're actually doing harm for the kid. They don't have enough information to help, guide them in that direction. So same thing for us, right? I'm trying to make sure that our circle has all the information we can, so we can make the most educated decisions to move us forward and us be successful, as a whole entity.
You mentioned early on that you're really at the end of the day, you're coaching student athletes. Um,
Yeah.
Expand on that. That's really important because that's really what we're here for, right? You're a college coach with student athletes that are there for maybe the reason to play baseball and move on to the next level.
Yeah.
Maybe it's another career. Maybe it's engineering, like you went into. Uh, Talk about the balance of that, and then kind of what the players are and what your philosophy as a coach and a head coach is, as far as what you want to bring to the University of Memphis.
Yeah, it's. I'll be honest with you. It's a new school and old school blend, right? It's very similar to the analytics. Like, hey, man, if you don't adjust to what's coming in analytically, then obviously you're going to die with the dinosaurs. So, same thing that we're building from a program aspect of it, right? We've got to do a good job of understanding that yes, we have student athletes, but we have our next generation in our hands, right? The next generation of how we're going to move forward as a country, how we're going to move forward as men, how we're going to move forward as humanity. We're very influential in this time, and you've been there. We've all been there. 18 to 22 years old. There's a lot of things that can influence your decision making process, whether it's obviously the academic side of things, or girlfriends, or social life, or whatever else it may be. So we've just got to do a really good job of making sure we continue to grow them in that way. And the fortunate spot that I think we're in this sport, I think you learn more about life in the sport of baseball than you do any other sport, because this is a sport built around failure, right? I mean, again, the amount of times that they failed, the amount of psychological that goes into this game, right? The mental aspect of this game. It's a lot of stuff that will prepare you for life. Life's not fair. That's just reality of it, okay? But how are you going to handle the adversity? How are you going to handle those challenges? How are you going to handle it when it's not just you that's in the corner, right? That you have others, when you make your decision-making process, that you're affecting your wife or your kids or whatever else may be around you. So I think that's important for us. I think we got to continue to recruit the right kids who've had the right foundation, but continue to grow them, even in a society that maybe be, in my opinion, a little bit broken right now, right? There are so many different things and so many different things thrown at them in their circle right now, especially from the social life. Obviously the social media aspect. There's so many different things that are telling them different ways to think. But keep the old school blend about you, right? Teach them about humility. Teach them about
Yep.
adversity. Teach them about honor. Teach them about respect. If we can do that in this game, inside of a game that we're competing at, then hey man, you keep the fun component of it, right? That you're playing a child's game, but you're learning life lessons to be able to build for life and the next generation to come.
I think that's great. One of the things that you hear a lot with the transfer portal is there's certainly reasons why it makes sense, and there's the fit aspect of the whole thing. But I think the other thing you just talked about, kind of the growing them and maturing them as young men. I heard somebody else quote. Embrace the suck. And when the transfer
Yeah.
portal comes in, right, you kind of can ignore or avoid the suck. And so when you recruit and you're talking to these new kids and the team that you've got right now, how do you really come across with that? How do you get your message to them? Because you can't control everything, right? You can only control what you can control. So that message of growing these young men and the parents, what is your message to them to really avoid as many of those, leaving because maybe they didn't get the playing time that they thought, they didn't want to sit, some of those life lessons that are being avoided through some of these other options that they might have.
Well, you've heard coaches say it before, but the greatest generation we've ever had, also was my grandfather's generation, where they had to go through the Great Depression and World War II, and just all those hardships that they had to endure, and how much more special it was at the end of it, right? The same thing we talk about building the program, bringing young men into our program, is the fact that we need them to understand that, hey, man, there's gonna be times that it sucks, right? Like you said, embrace the suck. But you harden from those scars, those wounds that you have. You're proud of those scars and those wounds that you have, because that's what helped get you there in that process, that journey that you had to have that ultimate success, right? How do you know what success really looks like if you don't have the failure? How do you know what's good if you don't see the bad? If you don't have the chance to go through those moments and embrace those moments, you don't know what true success is, and what true, where you can continue to grow, right? Where you can continue to maximize what you have. And so there's a glass ceiling there, but there's a long ladder along that way, right? That you got to climb, and then sometimes you get knocked down a few steps. The most important component of that is continue to grow from those steps that you get knocked down, and continue to get back up and move forward and be the best version that you can.
I think that's fantastic, Coach. That's a lesson for across the board, and we do a blog out on LinkedIn every week, and we talk about really to the HR departments of why baseball players should be considered for business positions, right? The sale specifically for sales, right? I'm a long-term sales guy. Sales is all about failure, and then
Yep.
what baseball is all about failure. I
Yep.
love that you talked about that as far as what what you're creating. With that being said, there's a lot of talent out there, Coach. Man, everybody's bigger, faster, stronger now than they
Yep.
are every year, right? It's all about strength. It's all about metrics. It's all about measuring and so that you can get better. What are you doing as far as finding your players? How do you find them? What tools are you using? Are you going out into, a lot of times it's showcases or travel ball, it's high school. There's a lot of things that you can do. Talk about kind of what you guys do in your staff as far as finding the right fits for players to bring on to the program.
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head. You got to find the right fit, and we're not going to be the right fit for everybody, and not everybody's going to be the right fit for us. But we talk about it. There's no perfect program. There's no perfect university. There's no perfect coach. There's no perfect player. But if you can find the perfect fit, then everybody maximizes in that situation, right? I think it's really important for us. We have our recruiting model, right, where we know what we want to do. We still love the high school player, right? We want a good foundation there that we can get some consistency. Even in an era that we know, hey man, then maybe they can leave after a year with the transfer portal. But if you build a culture that you embrace, where it's about the team and it's about the brotherhood, then those guys are going to be less inclined to leave. I'm not going to say you're not going to lose guys. You always will, right? There'll always be those situations, but and we want to do that with local guys. Understand Memphis, what Memphis is, right? What we were going to be about, and they want to embrace that identity. And then I'll see the JC level, man. I was a JC guy. I played at Pearl River. There's just a certain chip on those guys' shoulder, man, that, they're in there, and they've had to embrace the suck a little bit, right? They've had the 10-hour bus rides with a ham sandwich in the back of the bus, sweating it out. So when they walk into, a facility like ours and they see the resources that we have, they're extremely grateful along with that chip on their shoulder. Like they want to get to that level. Somebody told them when they come out of high school, they weren't good enough, or if they had to leave a 4-year program to go to JC, they told them that they weren't good enough.
Yep.
So there's a little sense of chip on their shoulder that they're out to prove everybody wrong in that sense. So, and then I can tell everybody, man, this is like a sundae, right? You've got the ice cream, you've got the chocolate in there, but the cherry on top is the transfer portal. At the end of the day, I don't want to dig our whole team out of there each and every single year. But the transfer portal does have some perks to it, right? There are some good things about it, and there's some situations that change for kids, right? Especially when the COVID stuff hit. When guys graduate, they lose scholarships. Academic scholarships are help paying for this. Look, again, baseball is 11.7. When we talk about NIL space, we're not talking about NIL trying to pay for brand new BMW vehicles for these guys. We're talking about just paying for school, right?
Yep,
In this
yep.
aspect of it. So, there's guys who lose those academic scholarships and can't afford it. There's folks and parents that can't afford the tuition, and once they lose that academic stuff, then it's it's on your own. Well, instead of embracing $20,000 worth of student loans, right, trying to stay at the place that you're at, both parties probably want them to stay, but they just can't simply afford it on either side of it, because you got 11.7 on one side, another kid's got a $20,000 bill. Also, he's got to get forced into. So, you'll find the kids that again will come in, I think, and know what you are, know who you are, know how you do things, will be the right fit, and still bought into that same team idea. They wanted to be loyal in the situation they were in, but at the end of the day, the circumstances changed for them, so it's time for change for their end of it as well. So that's kind of the cherry on top for us, right? We'll continue to add that aspect of it, but you're in an era now that, in my opinion, probably the next 5 to 10 years will probably be the most talented college baseball will ever be. At least for the next 40 or 50, until evolution evolves and everybody's 7'5" and throws 150, right? In my personal opinion, the draft, right, has bag jammed, backlogged a lot of players that are going to college. There's a lot of players that 5 years ago probably could play Division I level out of high school. Now, not so much, because the talent level has increased so much. You have guys that are turning down now with this NIL in place, that are turning down $500,000 to go to the draft and go play professional baseball, to go play at a Power 5 school, because they're getting a little bit of coin on the side with NIL stuff. So right now, again, parity in college baseball. Look, it's nothing to see a guy throw 95 every single weekend. win, right, in college baseball, especially Division I level, but at all levels. I mean, you're seeing guys do it at the D3 level. You're seeing guys at the JC level. Well, Pearl River was here the other day. They had 5 guys they ran that were 94, right? And so, at the end of the day, the talent aspect of it is also a huge component of it. But you got to find the right fit. You got to find the right human that's going to come in and buy into what you're believing in and what you're doing. So you're trying to find advantages in this, right? Hey, man, our guy might be 92, 93, but if he can pitch a little bit more conviction, if he can have a little bit better breaking ball than the guy that's 95, 98 that we're facing, I fully expect that guy to go out and win, right? So the competitive edge that we're looking for, right, the ability to be able to handle failure, the maturity we're looking for, the guy who's not self-centered, right, around him and always promoting himself. I get it. That's an aspect of the new day and age with NIL, the self-marketing. But the guy who's more worried about marketing the guys around him, the more worried about marketing the university that's giving him the opportunity, being so grateful for the opportunity. I think those are the guys that are going to find the advantage when it's all said and done to have success in their careers.
Boy, that's a lot there to be commented on, and I appreciate your insight on all that. But first of all, I had Coach Avalon with Pro River on last week, and it was funny because I asked him. I said, typically JCs are sellers, right? Finding places to move people. He goes, he's become a buyer. He's leveraged the portal as well. And so it's quite it's turned, not turned his program around. It's continued to keep it up at that top echelon. But you had made a really good, you talked about the transfer portal. What my opinion on this is, it's like anything new. You got to adjust, right? And I think coaches now are going to do a better job. Parents and players are going to do a better job of finding that fit and maybe looking 2-3 years down the road rather than, like you said, you come in, if you're sitting the bench, you lose your scholarship and now you can't afford to go to college there. Well, maybe that's something that we need to think about before we make that commitment, because in baseball, you never know. You aren't guaranteed anything when you step there. I mean, there may be another person, especially with the transfer portal. You've been promised whatever, and all of a sudden they bring in a junior or a grad student that's 23 years old that's got a year left, and he's taking your position. What do you do? I think that's what I see is it's going to fine tune and sharpen some people's abilities to recruit and to bring in that right people. And like you said, creating the culture that you want rather than it being, determined for you. I think you have to really have that focus. Coach, back to the players. You kind of in general looked for the right fit, different things like that. And by the way, shout out my fit comment. I know that everybody uses it, but Tim Nyman, Coach Nyman up at the sales, he gave me, if anybody wanted to listen to his podcast, he gives this whole 5-point program on the fit, which is really, really good. But anyway, I always have to credit him on me using that in the podcast. But back to the players. Are they, is it really looking from a development? Do you like to develop players? Or are you really looking for kids that can come in day one and they're going to do their job as far as what you're asking them to do?
Yeah, development components always be huge for us, and again, that's why we like that high school class to come in. It's definitely less, right, because you don't have as much time anymore as you did in years past, right? The amount of money that's been thrown around at this level. I mean, you got to win and win now, and that's just the reality of it. But the development component where we're at, 100% we still get to have, and not saying that Power Fives aren't. They are still developing their players as well, right? But we're going to make our money based off of a lot more developmental guys than we are now ready guys. Every guy we're going to get is probably going to have something broken or something that's not quite developed yet to the full capacity of it. And the one thing we continue talking about in our recruiting is, look, we're not going to have a $60 million stadium like Mississippi State, right? That's just reality of it. I mean, that's awesome. It's gorgeous. LSU's got the box. It's been, that way for, 30 years now. So, but, they can't bring that stuff between the white lines with them. We will have the resources you need to develop, right? And if we don't have that resource, then we'll make sure we invest in that resource. We've got plenty of backing here that are very supportive of our program and know that, hey, man, know what we are and who we are and where we're trying to go with this thing, that they'll continue to invest, especially in the student development aspect of it. So we had $80,000 that was invested this past fall to continue to shorten the curve a little bit with us and the Power Fives that are maybe have the pitching lab, right, and have all the analytics. In the same sense as not using that to make it a a crutch, right? I mean, there's so much that you can go down those rabbit holes, with all the development component of it. Get the people in the right spot that can decipher the information, and then communicate that. Yeah, look, it's great that I know and have the knowledge, but if I can't communicate that, then it's irrelevant, right? So I think that's a huge component of this when you talk about the development aspect of it. Kids will go walk in, parents will go walk in, they see all the technology, and they see the development component, so to speak, of it. But what's the communication component of it? I think that's what's really overlooked. And if that's one aspect, I would tell PSAs is, hey man, make sure you're doing your research on the communication aspect of it as well. Don't just go look at the tools and numbers because they can't communicate to you. Make sure the people that are communicating to you know what they're talking about, and they can get it through to you as well.
That's great. Metrics are just the opportunity to confirm or deny things that you can actually see with your eyes, right? You need people that can actually, like you said, communicate, decipher, and really analyze that information. Coach, it's been a lot of fun talking with you today. We were with Coach Reiser, head coach at the University of Memphis, on Are You in the Book podcast, brought to you by the NABF. Coach, I appreciate it. Looking forward to continuing to watch your career. You can find all of Coach Reiser's information in the Baseball Bluebook app. You can download for free today. And we appreciate, again, having you on the program, Coach. Thank you.
Eric, thank you so much, man. Go Tigers, go.